Welcome to the Strong Enough podcast, where we talk about the challenges and celebrate the triumphs of people from all walks of life. I'm your host, Claudia, and you may recognize this familiar face who is right here beside me. I am super excited to announce that this is going to be our new regular guest host. So you might not see her every single week, but you will be seeing a lot more of her. And I know that makes many of you happy. Jenn DeBeers Rishel. Hi. My friend, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm good. And I have to go ahead and announce or admit, I don't know. It's going to be hard, you guys, because we're obviously on the same computer. And so I want to look at her, but then she's over here. So then I have to do that. So then you don't get to see us. So we're going to do our best to look at you while we're talking. I know those of you that listen to this, you don't give a crap about any of this. So just ignore the last 20 seconds. But I just want to say, Jenn, super stoked to have you here. I know that the audience loves you very much. I love you very much. And we've had some interesting months, haven't we?
Yes. Yes, we have.
I mean, I don't even know where we want to start, you guys. We have so much to share with you, and we're going to tease it out over the next while. So you're not going to get it all during this episode. I have been doing a lot of court TV, so some of you may have seen that. So I apologize for not being diligent in releasing podcasts, but we are getting back on that bandwagon. We're getting back on it.
Yes.
Whatever it might be. And in doing so, we have new props. You see, we have at least one new set. Mm-hmm. We talk about some heavy shit here. So we now have a dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To introduce at times when it might feel necessary. And we also have a unicorn, my high school mascot, a unicorn. So we don't have a name for the unicorn or the dumpster fire. So if you have ideas,
but we forgot.
Yes.
About the sexy pickle.
We got the sexy pickle, and we just don't think he's sexy, but I think he thinks he's sexy.
What the pickle says goes.
Okay, so we have props. We want to have fun because we know we're talking about serious stuff. So yeah, a lot going on. Court TV. This one got married, so that was exciting. That's a whole story. Not for today though. But what is for today is narcissism.
That's a good one.
Because we have felt a calling recently to talk about it. We've both experienced it in a lot of different capacities at work, friendships, relationships,
parental relationships.
And if we have experienced it in so many different forms, then you probably have as well. So what we want to do today is kind of talk a little bit about narcissism, and talk to you about what is and isn't narcissism, because that word is one of those lately that's being thrown around a lot. Everybody's a narcissist. Like if you don't like somebody, they're now a narcissist.
Yes.
Just like if you don't like a situation, it's now toxic. And see, we did not plan that. So you see, like it's that.
Yep.
But I don't like that. I think we are overusing a lot of words like PTSD, toxic, narcissism. And what that does is it devalues those individuals, those circumstances that really do fit the bill.
Agreed.
So that's what we're going to talk about. Before we do that, I mean, Jenn, I don't know. Tell us some stuff. You brought the pickle out. But
I did.
Give us something else.
Well, so the new set is my beautiful new house that I live in with my new husband, which is also a new detail that developed over the past year. But yes, I am now happily married to the love of my life. And it's amazing that I was able to leave my very toxic work environment where I had a very narcissistic boss and was able to leave that And now I can do ministry full time, and I can work with my husband full time in our business, and then also do podcasts with my best friend. So that is the latest update.
Yes. You mentioned a couple things that I want to roll into before we hit narcissism. And one of them is you said ministry. Mm-hmm. I want to hit that point real quick because it's important to me that people know that we are believers, and it's okay if you're not. Yes. We don't care. I mean, obviously we want everybody to go to heaven or what we believe in. But we're not here to judge. We're not here to say, anything about any individual decision. But what I want to say is you might hear us reference prayer or mm-hmm. God or something like that. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then I would just invite you to identify why that makes you feel uncomfortable, but then just sub in whatever makes you feel comfortable. So if you pray to unicorns, then when we say God, sub in unicorn. Again, we still don't have names for anybody. So if you have a name for any of these things, please let us know because we want to hear them. So Jenn, you talked about a narcissistic workplace. And I think that when we think about narcissism, we generally think about romantic relationships. We don't think about friendships, parental relationships, mm-hmm. Or workplaces. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about your workplace. And what I want to hear first is how did it happen? How did we go from this is a cool place to work to holy crap, I'm being gaslit. And if you don't know what gaslit means, we'll get to that.
Yes. So it doesn't happen like a light switch. It's one of those things that kind of happens very slowly. Great work environment. We're all getting along. Everybody, we're out to change the world, and, it's a startup, but we don't care. Everybody's putting in the hours. And then, our new boss came in, and you could tell it was testing the waters, who was loyal to who and who was, who could be loyal to me. Where are the cracks in here? And that was kind of my biggest red flag at first was why do I need to tell you about the other owners? We're cool here kind of thing. And when I wouldn't go along with that agenda or wouldn't align with him, I became public enemy number one. And that's when I call it the campaign happened, where my reputation started to get tarnished. There were little whispers here and there about my character and Jenn's not as honest as she says she is, or business wise, and she's not doing this, or she doesn't take care of you guys the way that you think she does. Planting those seeds of doubt. So it was a very slow and very deliberate, I would say, attack when you don't align with a narcissist. If you stand up to them, that is one of the biggest things that they hate, is any kind of rebellion or resistance.
I like what you said. Well, I didn't like it, but I relate to what you said about tarnishing your character. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there thinking, but Jenn, if you already worked there and had such a great reputation and relationship with others, how in the world did this person just shimmy on in and take that away from you? So I would love for you to talk about what these people, these narcissists, do to make that happen, because this is very common, you guys, that somebody with a stellar reputation, stellar standing, integrity, morals, ethics, they're the ones that get targeted and attacked. And this narcissist convinces the weaker minds around them. So will you talk a little bit about that?
And I think that's the biggest thing right there is that, in this situation, it was, well, I can't go against this person because I don't want to lose my job. So there was another layer of fear added on to, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to go against the grain. I need this job and I need this paycheck. And I totally understand that. And I was at that, I got to the point where it didn't matter anymore because it was so, I mean, I will use this word because it was so toxic to the point where I was physically sick. I mean, my Crohn's was flaring and I was like going in and out of Mayo Clinic with testing and stuff like that. So when I say toxic, like it was toxic. So I think that, again, they find the cracks, and that's what they're really good at. They're really good at reading people. They're really good at who's loyal, who's not, who's a little disgruntled, and that's where they find those, and then they exploit that. So, okay, yeah, so Jenn and our lead so-and-so were really, really close. We traveled together. We did every event together, but little disgruntled because I was his boss.
Maybe Jenn made a decision that he didn't like or appreciate.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean Jenn's a bad person. Continue.
So, and that's where it is they find that one little disgruntled, that one little, oh yeah. And that's where they buddy with you. Oh, well, you know what? We don't need this person. And, they're the reason why everything is the way that it is right now. So then that's what happens is like, I ended up getting blamed for everything, all the problems that were right now. And I was like, y'all brought me in here to clean up the problems. We knew the problems existed before I was here. But then it didn't even matter. It was, oh, well, everything's worse now because I came on board and I did this and I did that. We don't need her and da-da-da-da-da. And then it was slowly taking my power away, firing people that reported to me, not letting me know that they were letting go of these people. So then I had nobody who was, quote unquote, loyal to me anymore. So very much got me isolated. I had no allies, anybody I turned to say, like, this isn't right, this isn't appropriate. It was, oh, well, we already warned about, Jenn's the problem. Jenn's, yeah, we thought she was going to be the savior, but, it turns out she's the drama queen. She's the one that's causing all the problems. And so it was like, they were almost like they were pre-warned that I was going to go and I was going to make a complaint. And so like, if everything just fell on deaf ears at that point.
There's so many things I want to hit on right now. Okay. I'm going to back it up because I want to start with what you said about, people needed their jobs, needed a paycheck, so they weren't willing to put their necks out there. So I had a very similar experience with that at the police department where, most of had a very traumatic situation occur, made a complaint and I don't know if I even expected like the other officers to be like, this is wrong.
Right.
But like when it didn't happen, there was a part of me that was hurt.
Yeah.
And I know it's like, look, like they got to fight their own fight. You know what I mean? Like they have families, careers, whatever. Like they're not going to lay it all on the line just because some dude kidnapped me and now the town wants to cover it up. So I get it, but it hurts.
It does.
So like, what did you do to make that hurt less? Because I still haven't found it.
I mean, honestly, okay, we're going to go deep then, I guess. Okay, so at the time, I was also incredibly sick as well, like physically sick, dealing with this. And then I was also in the middle of a breakup. And so we're talking like full frontal attacks from all angles. So this is a spiritual attack. So to me, I recognize that. And I usually dig into my faith a whole lot more when I see this. And I know that maybe some people might not see it that way.
Dig into your unicorn. Remember, we're subbing in unicorn. That's fine for today.
But somebody wouldn't be fighting you as hard if there wasn't something valuable inside of you, is the way I look at that. Mm-hmm. And, I know in my heart, I knew that I was doing the right thing. I knew that I always had good intentions. Now, did I probably hurt people? Absolutely. Like, I'm a human being. We all do. And the problem is the intention. Was it out of malice, or do you unintentionally hurt people? And so, yeah, if you want to tear somebody's character apart, or somebody said something maybe out of anger or hurt someone's feelings, yeah, we all do it.
We're not nobody's perfect. We're all human.
But, it's the exploiting that, and just, so I knew who I was. I knew my character. I also had some pretty amazing people that had kind of surrounded me, this one included, but also at my job. And they kind of had seen the writing on the walls. And so we were kind of already working on a plan to get me to be removed from that situation to go to a different situation.
Another division.
So again, I had people in my corner, and sometimes it doesn't always happen. You've got to find people, because you can't fight this alone. You can't fight a narcissist. I'm going to tell you this right now. You cannot fight a narcissist. You are going to drive yourself crazy.
I'm going to interrupt 1 second, because I have to, there's shows where it was like 2 snaps or whatever. Yeah. Because I want everybody to hear that, because this is one strong woman. This is a badass bitch right here. And you guys already know I'm a badass bitch. So it's not about that. It's that these people are so deeply rooted in evil that no matter how hard you fight, you cannot win in the games that they are playing.
Because you fight from a side of where you have morals and they don't.
Right.
Because you are a means to an end to a narcissist. Mm-hmm. And until you understand that, that's why you can't beat them at their own game, because you're not a narcissist. You have feelings. You care about people. That's the reason you're in the situation that you're in. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So, the biggest thing for me was playing offense at that point. I knew people who knew me, who knew my character, knew my work ethic, who kind of saw what was happening. And again, I made sure I had some people in my corner. It wasn't that I was trying to go to war and go to battle with this person. I was just trying to protect myself and protect my job, protect my peace, protect my health, protect my career. And, it's hard when you're in that situation. And again, you want people, because again, the people you thought were like, hey, we thought we were going to be here through thick and thin, and
they're gone.
They're gone. I tailed it. And I'm telling you, probably the strongest men I've ever seen in my life, literally just, one bark of this very short individual, they were scared. They got scared. And, for whatever reason, that's.
No offense to normal short people, but I just had to throw that in there. Continue. Sorry. I'm here all week.
You are. Now you made me lose my train of thought.
Okay, well, I'll step in with my next one then. So something else you mentioned, you said that this person, this narcissist, isolated you. Mm-hmm. So what that reminded me of, because earlier you talked about a little bit of financial control, the paycheck.
Yep.
Then you talked about isolation. You talked about bad mouthing. All these things, you guys, I hope you're all saying this right now. It's an abusive relationship. These are the signs of an abusive relationship. So did you recognize that this, now I know Jenn, unfortunately, like me, has had more than her fair share of abusive relationships in various forms. What advice or tips would you give to a normal person that unfortunately hasn't experienced some of the things we have? When can they start to realize that things might be in the hands of a narcissist? Let's say at work or in a friendship. So not in a familial or a romantic relationship.
I would definitely say the gaslighting. That's probably one of the biggest ones. Mm-hmm. I was getting phone calls at 5 o'clock in the morning from my boss, cussing me out at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then it was, I never called you. That never happened. Call log. Like literally. I mean, they get you to try to question your sanity. Like, again, like, am I crazy for thinking this? Like, am I crazy to think that my entire team just turned on me? Like that they're snubbing me, that they're like, yes.
Maybe I'm not a good person. Am I not a good person?
Yeah.
I thought I was a good person.
I thought I treated my team really well. I thought I was a good boss. I thought I was fair. I thought I worked my butt off. I always ask people to work just as hard as me. If, I always outperformed. I was always the first one there and the last one out.
That's all gaslighting, you guys. Yep. So some ways to think about it is, yes, when somebody makes you feel crazy, when
you want the official,
let's do official. This is Mayo Clinic. Is this?
This is official definition from the Webster's dictionary.
Webster's. Well, okay. Webster's legit. So let's hear it.
All right. So gaslighting is a form of emotional abuse where someone manipulates a person into doubting their own reality, perception, or sanity. It's a tactic often used to gain power and control over another person.
So there we are, back to the power and control, which is what we always talk about with domestic abuse in general. So gaslighting, if you still don't know what it is, I have a perfect example. Hopefully, I'm going to talk about a friend. I'm not going to name names, but this friend was in a relationship with a dude. So this was a female in a relationship with a dude. He had a secret email account. Okay. So he literally has joeschmo@gmail.com that was supposed to be secret. So my friend is sitting there at their home laptop, okay, with it open. Like, I'm her, she's the dude, okay? They're looking at it and she goes, "This is your secret email account. Like, here it is." And he goes, "No, it's not." And she says, we're both looking at it right here. And he said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And you guys think I'm making that up? That is a legit story. Yep. And that is what narcissists do. Because then she's going to walk away. And this, again, is a strong, intelligent female, but who goes, "Am I crazy?
Yep.
Maybe I'm crazy.
Maybe I didn't see that.
Maybe, yeah, he must be right." And you have to remember that it's not just one thing. He doesn't do that one thing and then leave for the day. There's all these other forms of gaslighting and manipulation occurring at the same time, so that you walk away going, huh?
Confusion.
Right.
You're left in a state of constant confusion.
And you doubt the one person that you can trust, which is yourself. So once you start doubting yourself, now that's when the chips begin to crumble. Yep. Is that even a saying? Do chips crumble? I mean, I guess they do crumble if you like.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Chips fall where they may. I don't
yes. So that's gaslighting. Yeah. And if you think through your life, unfortunately, you've probably seen it or heard of it. There's a really funny guy on YouTube or Instagram who posts gaslighting his boss.
Oh gosh.
And he will, he'll drink out of a Bud Light can. And his boss will be like, "Dude, are you drinking out of a Bud Light?" And then he'll lift up a Pepsi can and he'll be like, "No, Amanda," or whatever, "It's Pepsi." And it's meant to be a joke.
Yes.
It's parody. But that's gaslighting, you guys. That is a really basic definition of it. So it's literally doing something and convincing the person with all your might that they're not seeing what they know they're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Or feeling too.
Right. Absolutely.
Like basically doubting your reality, whether that's your reality in your feelings or reality.
Yes.
Sitting in front of you.
So when you're in this situation, so we've now established that what gaslighting is, we've talked about this narcissism at work being really abuse. Mm-hmm. What do you do? Is there a way that you could ever salvage this? And maybe not you guys, there's not going to be a pleasant answer at the end of this. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. But what do you think, Jenn? Do you think if you can identify the situation, is there a way out?
Yeah. You leave the situation.
Right.
I hate to say this to you, but narcissists don't change.
They can't. They can't, generally speaking.
Especially if they have narcissistic personality disorder. that literally, they don't even have compassion. They don't even have the ability to feel. Like any person, whether they're even blood related or not, they are a means to an end to this person. So like, that's why you see a whole lot of serial killers that are narcissists, because I mean, they can literally go around killing people because they have no feelings. Like they have no empathy.
What else do they generally have though? They have families.
Mm-hmm. And they're very charming.
Very charming. They generally have great jobs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but they don't keep them for very long.
Generally speaking, yes, they cycle through. Other than BTK, because he was that dog catcher dude or whatever.
But think about it, he operated very independently.
Yes,
so
yes. If they have a lot of oversight, like they're not going to work well in an office setting.
No, they don't deal with authority very well at all. But yes, they'll start off. They're the rock star. They're fantastic. They're employee of the month. And then, a few months into it, it's like, oh, well, this is really toxic. And oh, so-and-so's out to get me. And, there's a better opportunity. The grass is always greener somewhere else. And they literally, it just will not stay at a job just because basically they quit before they're about to get fired.
So I would say that would be then the only way that you could ever stay at a place where a narcissist is now working with or supervising you is if they happen to ditch first. But otherwise, if you're the target, you're the target. Unfortunately, you are now locked and loaded. You have been identified as against the narcissist. And so now the narcissist is going to do everything they can to eliminate you, not in a life and death way, hopefully, but, because you're now a danger to their existence.
Yes.
And figuring them out.
Right. You saw through it. So therefore now you might turn everybody else against them. So let me turn everybody against you first.
Yes.
Before you do.
Absolutely.
And again, you have to make that decision, but you're never going to beat them at their own game. You're never going to outsmart them. You're never going to pull one over on them. I even had legitimate HR violations that I brought up and it never went anywhere. So you can't even tell me that.
Right. Oh, and side note, real quick, while we're on HR, please remember HR is not on your side. HR is on the side of the company. They pretend that they're not. I have friends who work in HR. They will begrudgingly admit this, or maybe not so begrudgingly, but you can't trust HR.
Well, who signs our paycheck?
Well, right. And so who do they work for? The company. Yep. So please just remember that, you guys, HR is not there for you. They are there for the company. So take your complaints to them and do what you're supposed to do, but please do not count on them to fix the situation because they will generally take the path of least resistance. 100%. And remember that you are now the squeaky wheel. And so you got to go because the narcissist has already worked on that side of it as well. So they have probably primed HR with, I had to lay down the law with Jen. Jen wasn't doing her job. So I had to write her up. So she's probably going to complain on me now. So this is what we're dealing with. So talk a little bit about the healing, and I know you talked about faith and you really lean into that. But what other things for people who maybe don't have as much faith, and we would obviously recommend try to lean into that. But if they don't have that, how can they begin to heal?
And I would definitely say get into therapy. You really do need to be able to work through this because, again, your character has been attacked, your emotions, your emotional health has been attacked. You need to be able to talk through this because, again, you're going to deal with narcissists. We seem to be breeding them at a dime a dozen in this country because we are such a me-focused society now that it literally is breeding ground for them. And so you're going to deal with them. It's not you're isolated and it's just going to be this one time. Y'all, literally, my father was a narcissist. And then I dealt with a boss situation and now I'm dealing with another situation. So you're going to be dealing with them your entire life. So it's being able to, how much are you willing to put up with? Like, how closely do you work with this person if it is a work situation? Is it a boss? Like, are they your boss? Is it to the point where it's affecting your health? Then you got to go. I'm sorry, the paycheck's not worth it. I mean, I was so incredibly sick that, I should have been in the hospital. And, no job is worth that. Not at all. I mean, and again, now looking back at it, like, calling somebody at 5 o'clock in the morning and screaming and yelling at them, like,
and then pretending it never happened,
just insanity. So you've got to know what your limits are, but you also have to know what your worth is. And, I understand, like, people are like, oh, well, maybe you say that now. Like, okay, so speed up the whole timeline. They laid me off. How about that? So, yeah, I was stuck without a job. So yeah, I get it. But I'm a lot happier now.
Yeah. So, and I'm glad you brought that up because I know some people out there would be like, well, that's easy for you to say, like, you're doing fine.
Yep.
She lost her job.
Yep. They moved me and I was doing fantastic. I was working on this account. I had actually sold a whole bunch of vehicles for the company, had made them a whole crap load of money for
she was a rock star, despite what the narcissist told everybody.
And, they laid me off because, again, I went against the grain. I was the squeaky wheel because I was the one that had the moral compass. I was the one that was the straight and narrow. So
I want to talk about that for a minute because I am also that person. Again, I am also not perfect, but generally speaking, I like to think of myself, and I believe that my action has proved myself to be a person of high moral standards. I have integrity. I have ethics. I work hard. I do all the things you're supposed to do. Why are we the ones that get attacked? Why is it us? Why isn't it slimy Sally in the corner? I don't know who Sally is. I'm so sorry if that's your name. But why is Sally like quiet in the corner? Why doesn't she get attacked?
I think it's exactly that. You're a light, for one.
Wait.
You don't light up a room. You're just a light.
Thank you. Okay. Because you guys realize she just almost committed attempted murder on me right then and there.
I did not say you lit up a room.
But if she had, that is attempted murder. And everybody here witnessed it. But you didn't.
Go watch Dateline.
So go ahead. Continue.
I think it's partly that. Again, in my situation, it started off of, we're gonna run this company together and we're gonna be the best of buds. And I think it was originally, let me see if I can either take all the power from her, or if I can align myself and possibly us do it together. I don't think it was ever a we're gonna do this together kind of thing. I think that was the way that it was, quote unquote, presented. So I'm trying to think of like why. I think it's one, people who end up in these relationships, and I'm going to go in the romantic side real quick, that constantly end up in relationships like this. A narcissist sees something in you that they know that they can control. And as hard as it is to say that, there's something in you that you need to work on and heal to stop attracting that. And I say that because I was in that position. So I say
both
that
of us have been there, so we're not.
No, but I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah, there's a crack in there somewhere, and that doesn't, again, make you a bad person or a weak person, but there's a crack that person identifies.
Yep, and then they see that and they exploit that. Either that, or they see you as being a threat.
That's what I was going to say.
So it's one of the two. So it's either you're
or both.
And I think for me, it was definitely, he saw me as a threat at that point because I wouldn't align with him. So then it was a full frontal attack against me. Literally to the point where I even tried to say, like, I try to get warn it. I'm like, hey guys, he's talking all this smack about so-and-so and so. You don't think he's doing it about you? And then
it's too late. They're already in there.
Yep.
I think you're right though. I do think it's both, but I think a lot of times it is a threat because they know, so they have to identify very quickly when they enter a situation, and whether that's a workplace, a relationship, a potential relationship, whatever, they have to identify
friend or foe.
I was literally going to say that and I didn't want to. But then you did.
I did.
So, but they have to identify friend or foe. So are you going to be a person that I can control or are you going to be a person that I have to take out?
So that's where I went with the light, because that's where I go back to my faith.
Right.
Usually people who are narcissists are not Bible walking, relationship, Jesus having.
They sometimes claim to be, and that is a distinctive tactic to disarm you.
Look at the fruit, guys.
Right. I'm a man of God. I'm a woman of God. Look at my Bible. I memorized some verses. That is a tactic to disarm. I'm not saying obviously every Bible person, because then that would be us, but a narcissist, sometimes that is a tool they will use in addition to being charming, being attractive, whatever. They use whatever gifts they have to disarm people. Yes. So yeah, I feel like they do the friend or foe, and you're either somebody
who can either help them
or not,
or hinder them.
Right. And if you're hinder,
you got to go.
You got to go. So,
yep.
So what has it been like for you? Talk to me about, because I know your life is good. We got some bumps in the road, but I want to talk about that specifically, or pacifically, as some people say. I hate that, you guys. What I want to talk about, though, is what additional insight has that given you as you now move forward in other projects in a new season of your life? What has that given you? So how do we look at this, and not as a gift, but like as something that you can utilize in a positive manner?
Yeah, I truly believe that God has given me this discernment to really be able to judge people. Not in, I'm sitting here judging you by your actions, but like judging if you're a good fit for us, like to be in our circle, or to be, to do business with, or
for you,
the dumpster fire. So, I think that's one of the biggest things is that I have tried to lean on is really working and leaning on that discernment and listening to my gut and praying a lot and asking God to guide me and guide my steps. And that even includes, people who come in and out of our lives, or people who approach us now for, business ideas. But sometimes, you don't know who somebody is. And, again, they could come with the most stellar resume. Cool. Who are you inside? What does your heart say? What does the fruit in your life say? Like, that's where we're at. And so that's what I was saying, is judging by the fruit of somebody. When they say that, I'm a person of God. Okay, well, look at their life. Like, what do they have in their life? Like, are they tithing? Are they blessing? Are they speaking life into people? Or are they just, going to church on Sundays and saying, yeah, guys, I checked that off in my box. That's what I say about look at their life. Look at the people in their lives. Look at the relationships that they have. Is there genuine love in the relationships that they have with people, or is there a sense of fear? It's like, that's the biggest thing with narcissists, that there's the people around them don't genuinely love them. They're around them either out of fear and loyalty. And usually it's fear because there's some type of blackmail or financial control or hanging something over your head, or, hey, you remember when you were really low? Remember that time I helped you? Like, they're real good about reminding you of your flaws and of your mistakes that especially at your lowest of your lows. But the moment you bring up one of their mistakes or criticize them, no. That is, they flip out. So again, that's another sign of dealing with a narcissist. They're real quick to point out everybody else's flaws and criticize everybody else, and to remind you of how much they helped you and did for you. How
worthless you have been or are, and how much because of them you're flourishing or can flourish. And
you
again,
would be here where it wasn't for me.
What does that go back to, you guys? An abusive relationship. It's the exact same thing.
Yep.
Do you ever feel guilty? And maybe not today, and maybe it is today, but after going through something like that, do you ever feel that guilt of like, oh God, I should have known.
Yes and no. I mean, the thing is, okay, yeah, so like sometimes does it help the situation, identifying it? Because, sometimes you can't get out of it right away. I couldn't. I'll be honest with you. Like I identified the situation pretty early on, but I was still kind of stuck in it. Again, I had to line things up in order to remove myself from the situation because it was my job. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, it does. And I guess what I'm getting at is like, I want people to understand that this can happen to anybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I know in dealing with abusive relationships, we do often blame ourselves.
That's true.
Like, oh,
I did it again.
I did it again. Or, I remember that red flag and why didn't I pay attention? So
giving yourself grace, I think, is the biggest thing. And then also, again, recognizing that these people are master manipulators.
They're good, you guys.
Really good. They're charming. Again, they wouldn't be where they are in life if they weren't.
Right.
So you aren't their only quote unquote victim. Just know that. You might feel isolated, but believe me, you aren't the only person. They've got a trail of bodies behind them at this point.
Right. And unfortunately, we don't see everybody's case or circumstances on Dateline or Court TV or X or Instagram. Yeah. So it's like, you do feel like, am I the only one? Yeah. And you're not. And you're definitely not even with that individual. I'm sure just this one individual that we're speaking of right now, even in that one company, has probably already left a significant wake.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Bodies in the wake. Why am I having issues today with like our phrases,
I don't know.
Cliches?
We've been off our game.
We have. I mean, we're still fantastic,
right,
as you can tell. But I'm gonna toot our horns for a minute. Beep beep. So we were in New York for a moment, and then we had some great time in New York over the weekend. Mm-hmm. We had some unexpected trashery come our way.
Yeah.
I really don't even know what to call it. And we're going to get into it. Don't worry, but later. But we had some trashery come in and we decided to turn a dumpster fire into a unicorn and a pickle
party.
And so we took ourselves down to Atlanta and spent the week in the studio at Court TV.
Yeah.
It was so amazing. And I say we because it was legit a partnership. Somebody over here was like hanging out with producers and whatnot. I was on camera. And she was like doing everything else.
I was the press secretary.
She was. And get you a friend. Let me just say this. And I know I'm way off topic, but I'm not. Get you a friend that will do whatever, because you know what? Then like yesterday, I was like her press secretary. I was really like the bag person, but whatever.
Right.
It's like, but get somebody that like you don't have hierarchy and labels, and it's just like, I need you for X. Cool. I will be. You want me to dress up as your driver today? Fantastic. Get me a cute little hat. I'm driving, like whatever it is. So yes, she was my press secretary. She did a stellar job, by the way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we turned trash into treasure. Mm-hmm. Super corny. But I would encourage you guys to do the same. When you experience a situation that sucks, allow yourself to sit in it for like 5 minutes. This is I told you guys before, you get like a 5-minute pity party. Mm-hmm. So have your pity party for 5 minutes. Yep. And I'm not saying then you just go, okay, I'm done with that. Cause like we still have rubble to clean up and go through and fix the work. Yes. But like take your 5 minutes and then say, what am I going to do to make something good happen, even though this other stuff, because what that will do to you mentally and emotionally is it will replace those feelings of doubt, guilt, fear, anxiety, rage, anger, murderous thoughts, whatever you may be feeling, it helps to replace those and it helps to redirect your path. So that is what I encourage. That is my little toot for the second, or beep.
Honk, honk.
Tooting our own horn. Doing that right there. So what I want to talk to you about quickly, because I think we're getting somewhere around our time that you guys are probably tired of listening to us, is how do you prepare for a situation like this? How do you go into a new space with your eyes wide open and kind of not being a weirdo, but being cognizant of your surroundings and kind of how to interact with people, if that makes sense?
People tell on themselves very easily. Observe people, okay? Stop being the loudest one in the room. Stop talking all the time. Listen, because people will tell you exactly who they are.
I love that. And I also love it because when people first meet me, generally what I hear from them is, why are you so quiet? Is something wrong? Are you uncomfortable? Are you upset? Are you mad? Are you nervous? And I'm like, no, I'm just taking it all in. So don't be afraid to take it all in. Learn what you can learn, because yes, people will tell you everything you need to know. You have to be able to listen. And when you're talking, you can't listen at the same time.
And listen to your gut. That's the biggest thing. If your gut is, I always say my spirit gets irritated around certain people. And everyone who knows me knows immediately what that means.
I'm thinking of someone right now.
So, trust your gut, and again, let people tell you who they are. Now, someone who is a narcissist, they're not going to show you right away. It is going to take a little bit of time, but they do eventually show you who they truly are. The mask falls off. They can't keep it on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, especially in stressful situations or when if they get angry, something gets taken out of their control. That's when you really see it. So pay attention to those.
Here's a good thing I wanted to ask you, or let's chat about real quick. So backing up to the situation, where this person like invades your work friends and, and kind of like poisons you. How does that make you feel? Or what do you do about that? Because now you're looking at an individual who you're like, I thought you weren't a dumb.
Yeah.
I thought you trusted me and knew who I was and knew my integrity. I thought you would come to me if you suspected anything or if anybody ever said something to you. Like I thought, what do you do in those situations? Or why do you think that person can infiltrate and how do you handle it?
Again, I look at things a little bit differently because I look at it very spiritually. And I guess you weren't meant to be in my life. Yes, it sucks and it hurts a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I thought a lot of these guys they were family. I mean, like they looked out for me. I mean, we're talking like they would call my mom and be like, hey, we're just letting you know we got Jen. We're taking care of her kind of thing. So it was hurtful in that regard of like, yeah, I kind of saw these guys as kind of like brothers and part of my family. But then when I was like, if you're that quick to believe someone about me after you have spent this much time with me, and you've only spent this much time with this other person, either I don't really know who you are then, or you're so weak that you aren't who I thought you were either. Because again, most of all these guys were former military, like big bad guys that are, yes.
But even the ones who aren't. And I love what you said. And you said exactly, what I wanted you to say, or, what I thought you might say is that this is the time that unfortunately you realize that those people that you thought were your friends weren't and aren't as smart, strong, loyal, anything, as you thought they were. And that's very hurtful.
It is.
And telling, but better to know now than even another year down the road when you're that much more invested or you've spent that much more time or given your time, your vulnerability, you to that person even more. And now they do it. So I also try to look at it as like, well, you suck. In simple terms, you know.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know today before I won the lottery and was going to give you like a Lambo.
Right. You know.
So,
or like a cool vacation.
Or all of the above.
You know.
Jenn, what do you think? Because we got some back episodes that we're going to throw in the mix here. We are already talking to people that we together are going to bring on. So, Jenn, I would love to hear, throwing you just right out there right now, who should we talk to next? You don't have to name a name, but like, what type of individual do you think we want to bring on next?
I don't know, man. I don't know if your audience is ready for this.
I mean, they might not be, but they're my audience. And now they're our audience.
They are.
And so if they're our audience, then they're ready.
All right, y'all. Are you guys ready for this? Let's take a dive into the crypto world.
I think we should. You know what, you guys? The crypto world is a scary place.
It is.
And it is very misunderstood. It is very misjudged.
Yep.
There's a lot about it that isn't well known.
Yep. And because of the recent lawsuits, the presidency now that is pro-crypto, and then you've got all this new legislation that's coming in. So hate to say this, but it's here to stay.
And do you hate to say it?
I mean, actually, I don't.
She doesn't.
I really don't.
So
I love crypto.
She does. We do.
Yeah. So I think maybe we should start preaching and bring on a guest and talk about some crypto one day.
Yeah. So you guys know, whatever guest we bring on is always going to have a story to tell. They're going to have a story about trauma to triumph, challenge to victory, you know, something like that. But I love that idea. I think we have some great potential crypto ladies.
Oh yeah, we got
in mind.
Great crypto ladies community.
And you know what? I think that would be a great topic for our audience to hear about, because this is a world where you can dip your toe in and really start creating some security for yourself, potentially. Now, it's just like the stock market, you guys. There's risks involved. So we want to put that out there. This will not be a crypto class. Nope. Okay? There's plenty of people out there. Plenty of people, and we might have one new one for you soon. But this will simply be, you know, a strong woman who's maybe going to talk about her experience entering a male-dominated world with very little known about it. I think we also have another guest coming soon who might be, I don't even know what we're calling them now, but a stewardess that's not what we call them anymore, right? Flight attendant.
Yes.
I'm terrible, you guys.
Our girl, Danny.
Yes. Danny, so amazing. She's going to come on soon. Does she have an accent?
She does. So Danny, beautiful soul that I met on my flights. This is going to be a whole other episode we'll have to unpack at some point. But on my trip to my honeymoon to Dubai, she was our flight attendant, and she, up 30,000 feet in the air, was ministering to my broken heart that week. And we became friends. We ended up meeting up in Dubai, exchanging phone numbers, and like, she's coming to hang out with us. She's going to spend a couple of weeks with us, and we're going to do a podcast with her. So yes. So I'm super excited about that one too. Any other guests that you guys want to see, and whether it is a specific person or Pacific person, if they're on the West Coast, specific person, or just a topic, another challenge or trauma that you'd like to hear from, please let us know. Jenn, it has been amazing to have you on, and it is amazing to now be able to call you a co-host. You are no longer a guest. You are now a co-host. I'm like official. You're officially official. Yay. So official. I think it does feel good to be official, and I'm glad to be official with you. Same. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We're super stoked to see you next week. We are going back to weekly episodes. We have missed you terribly. We're so glad to be back, and we can't wait to see you next week. Sounds good. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.